A few days had passed since Max and Maxine's harrowing experience in the woods. Despite the eerie encounter, they often joked about returning to that place, using humor to cope with the lingering unease. However, one day, Max approached Maxine with a serious expression. "How much do you remember from that day?" Max asked. His curiosity piqued. Maxine, who usually brushed off such memories lightly, now had to think back seriously. "I remember everything vividly, Max," she replied, her tone grave. "Do you remember the ominous presence that seemed to chase you?" Max inquired. "Yeah, some kind of animal," Maxine recalled hesitantly. "I don't think it was any normal animal," Max stated firmly. "Why do you say that?" Maxine asked, intrigued by Max's seriousness. "I have a theory," Max began. "When I was stuck in that crevice for hours, I noticed intricate symbols carved on the walls inside. Did you notice them? Some people who were trapped like us might have drawn them," Maxine suggested. "I didn't see any corpses or bones that would indicate others had been there before us," Max explained. "And those symbols were so high up on the walls, no ordinary person could reach them." "What are you suggesting, Max? Are you saying it was some ancient cave and those were ancient symbols?" Maxine questioned. "Remember, Maxine, did you see those symbols?" Max pressed on. Maxine got up and began pacing the room, trying hard to recall. After a few minutes of deep concentration, she stopped abruptly. "Yes, I do remember some kind of symbols carved on those walls." "Exactly. Those symbols were too intricate and complex to be the work of ancient civilizations," Max asserted. "What are you trying to say, Max?" Maxine asked, her confusion growing. "At the very least, some form of advanced civilization must have visited that place," Max concluded. Maxine sighed deeply, processing Max's implications. "What is your point, Max?" "Let's go back to that place," Max stated abruptly. "No, no, no," Maxine almost shouted in response, her eyes wide with fear at the suggestion. "Maxine," said Max in a calm voice, his eyes fixed on the crevice ahead, "I think there's a way inside that crevice, and whatever creature is there, it's protecting something." "Max, that is." Maxine began to protest, but Max cut her off. "Insane," he finished for her. "Yeah, I know. I was in there longer than you, and I do believe there's a way inside." "Max, this is all too much," Maxine replied, her voice tinged with worry. "Maxine, please." Max begged, his earnestness evident in his tone. After a few minutes of convincing, Maxine reluctantly agreed. This time, they came prepared with ropes, hooks, flashlights, and all the equipment necessary for exploring a cave. They returned to their old camping ground, nerves tense with anticipation. "Let's go back, Max." Maxine hesitated, her voice wavering with uncertainty. "We've come all this way. Let's see what's there," Max urged her, his determination unwavering. Maxine fell silent, a mix of fear and curiosity swirling in her mind. Reluctantly, she nodded, silently agreeing to proceed. They made their way through the familiar trails and forests until they reached the crevice where their earlier ordeal had unfolded. As they approached, a deep, guttural roar echoed through the trees, causing the ground to tremble beneath their feet. The twins froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. They could hear the creature, but its massive form remained hidden among the dense foliage. Without hesitation, Max and Maxine dove into the nearest bush, seeking cover from whatever lurked nearby. "We brought everything except binoculars," Maxine muttered under her breath, frustration evident in her voice. Max swiftly pulled out his phone, activating the camera to capture whatever glimpse he could of the creature from their hiding spot. The phone's camera struggled to focus in the dim light, producing grainy footage that made it difficult to discern details. "Whatever that thing is, it looks like a cross between a bear and a buffalo," Max whispered, his voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "It's enormous. It could crush a human with a single stomp." Maxine peered over his shoulder, her eyes widening in alarm as she caught a glimpse of the creature on the phone screen. "That's it. Let's leave," she urged, her voice urgent. Max hesitated, torn between his curiosity about the crevice and the looming danger of the unknown creature. He knew Maxine was right. They were ill-equipped to confront such a formidable adversary. Reluctantly, Max nodded, his heart sinking with disappointment. Slowly and silently, they retreated from their hiding spot, careful not to draw attention to themselves. As they were about to leave, Max noticed that the creature was preparing to move. He got an idea and shared it with Maxine. Maxine, I've got an idea. The creature is about to leave. I'll follow it while you go into the crevice and take photos. Then leave as quickly as possible. If it comes back before you're done, I'll call you. Keep your phone on silent. Both put their phones in silent mode. Max started taking a video of the creature from a safe distance as it moved away. Maxine proceeded towards the crevice, equipped with ropes and a flashlight. As Max followed the creature, it led him on a winding path for half an hour until it reached another area and growled. The creature stayed there for a few minutes before moving on to another spot, repeating this pattern 5 times. Suddenly, a large moose wandered by. The creature, stalking from behind a tree, killed it with a single powerful punch and dragged it under a tree to start eating. Max captured the entire scene on video and messaged his sister, "Don't worry, we're far away, and it's having lunch." Meanwhile, Maxine had reached the crevice and begun her descent. She took pictures while lowering herself on the ropes and continued to take more photos of the symbols etched into the walls. The glyphs on the high end of the crevice appeared more like a language than mere symbols. She noticed more symbols covered in dust and soil and began to clean them off, revealing intricate carvings one by one. As she realized the entire crevice might be filled with these glyphs, she thought to herself, "Max is right. There is something interesting here to discover. I don't think I can manage this alone. Let me call Max for help." But remembering he was keeping watch, she decided to find as many glyphs as possible on her own before they regrouped. Hours passed as she diligently cleaned the walls and documented the symbols. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed through the crevice, causing her to tremble. Why didn't Max call? Did something happen to him? She wondered. Initially, she thought of escaping, but she realized she wouldn't get very far. She carefully removed the rope from the top and hid in a corner of the crevice, hoping the creature wouldn't come inside. The growling grew louder and closer. She hid silently, not daring to make a sound. After a minute or two, the growling became so loud that Maxine knew the creature was directly above her. She remained motionless, heart pounding. Eventually, she heard low growls, understanding that the creature was still there, but lying down. She waited for what felt like an eternity, still hidden in the corner. After about 20 minutes, a small clump of soil dislodged from the wall and fell, making a faint noise. "Shit!" Maxine thought, panicked. The creature stood up and approached the crevice. Maxine could see its massive horns, as stout as a small human and as long as an adult male's thigh. She moved cautiously, trying to stay out of its view. After a minute or two, the creature left. Maxine quickly messaged Max. "First, are you okay? Second, if you are okay, why the hell didn't you tell me the creature was coming?" Max received her message just as he was about to send his own. "What?" Max thought to himself as he saw the message. He could see the creature right in front of him, albeit a few yards away, happily snacking on the fresh carcass of the moose. Panic surged through him as he read Maxine's frantic message again, his heart pounding in his chest. He immediately messaged her, "Get out! There are more than one. I am coming to you." Max silently moved away to create distance from the creature, trying to avoid making any noise that could alert it. Once he felt he was at a safe distance, he started sprinting, his mind racing with worry for his sister. His phone buzzed with a message from Maxine. "I can't. I had to pull the rope." "Don't worry. I am coming as fast as I can," Max replied, pushing himself to run faster. But then he stopped abruptly, a chilling thought crossing his mind. If there are more than one, how many are there? Now he slowed down, still running but looking around carefully, his senses on high alert. When he finally reached his sister, he found her still taking photos of the walls, completely absorbed in her task. The crevice was far from fully documented, with intricate symbols and carvings still hidden in the shadows. "Maxine," Max whispered urgently, his voice barely above a hiss. "We have to go! Hurry!" Maxine looked up, her eyes wide with realization, but she was reluctant to leave. "Just a few more pictures," she pleaded, her hands trembling with excitement. "No, we have to go now," Max insisted, almost dragging her away from the walls. The urgency in his voice finally broke through her trance, and she began to gather her equipment. As they reached the camp, Maxine started to talk, her words tumbling out in a rush. "You were right, Max. There is something there." "We have to find out what these are," she said, showing the photos she had taken. The symbols were intricate and seemed to tell a story, one that was both ancient and mysterious. Max shook his head, his face pale. "We can't go back there ever. We don't know how many of those creatures are out there." Maxine's eyes widened as she listened to Max's account of what he had seen. She told him about her own encounter, describing the size and ferocity of the creature in detail. Max also showed her the video he had taken, the blurry image of the creature still enough to send chills down their spines. "We're not equipped to handle this," Max said, his voice steady but firm. "It's too dangerous." Maxine nodded reluctantly, understanding the gravity of the situation. They quickly packed up the rest of their things, their earlier excitement replaced by a sober realization of the danger they had narrowly escaped. As they left the camp, the weight of their discovery hung heavy in the air, a mystery that would have to remain unsolved for now.